what are these students protesting? We've got the story.
And we haven't heard from him in a while. Find out what Butch Davis has to say about the NCAA investigation.
In sports, the football team is in Blacksburg prepping for a Thursday night showdown with the Hokies.
All that and UNC football has a lot more in common with these dancers than you think.
Carolina Week starts right now. That big tuition increase everybody's been talking about is under consideration tonight. Good evening, I'm Kathleen Whitty.
And I'm Preston Jones. The Board of Trustees is meeting and should make a decision one way or the other by tomorrow. But even before that decision is made, some students are fighting back.
Education is not for profit.
Now, even if the Board of Trustees does approve the tuition hikes, the System Board of Governors has to approve them too. Butch Davis is speaking out.
There's so much misinformation out there that I feel I need.
Butch Davis is speaking out for the first time since he got fired, and he had a lot to say, but did he really clear anything up? He broke his silence in a YouTube video, and it got everyone talking. Reporter Andy Reeves has been looking into all of this. Andy, tell us, what are you hearing?
Well, Preston, I don't know how much Davis helped his case with this video. He did address some issues, but without any opportunity for feedback, he may have raised more questions than he answered.
Please keep in mind that not.
Now, Davis says he released the video because the NCAA hearing has passed and fans wanted to hear from him. But it is widely believed that this video was not meant for the UNC community, but rather for potential employers.
Well, Andy, regardless of who this video was for, did this video do anything at all to repair Davis's image?
Well, I caught up with public relations professor Napoleon Byers to ask him that very question.
It's too long. Really, unless you're doing Harry Potter or something like that. The audience is just not going to stay with it. In terms of public relations effectiveness, this video does very little for him.
Preston, I reached out to Chancellor Thorpe and former athletics director Dick Bedore for a reaction, but both declined to comment. And new AD Bubba Cunningham said he hadn't watched the video and was focused on the current football team.
Well, that's Andy Reeves live in the studio. Andy, thank you.
Towing has become a hot-button topic in town. Well, now residents have spoken up and changes could be on the way. We brought you this story 2 weeks ago on Carolina Week. Residents have been questioning towing tactics. Some even say it's predatory. Chapel Hill police are proposing a few changes to the town's current towing ordinance. Let's take a look at some of those major points. Let's see, under the new ordinance, businesses would be required to update towing signs on their property. Towers would have to notify police before towing any vehicle. And finally, the towing fee would increase from $100 to $125. The ordinance would also force towing companies to accept debit and credit card payments along with cash. But don't expect to see these changes anytime soon. The council won't vote on the ordinance until it meets again in February.
If you take the bus to class, you might want to get ready for a change in your daily routine. Officials with Chapel Hill Transit say they may have to cut entire bus routes because of the lack of funding. And the buses that continue to run might make fewer stops. The transit system is pressed for money after its request for a $14 fee increase was cut nearly in half. Officials think the smaller fee may jeopardize a longer-term revenue plan for the system they had in the works.
Well, the Occupy people are back in front of the old post office tonight, returning to a relative calm. That wasn't the case at the beginning of this week as Chapel Hill police stormed a vacant building, rooting out Occupy protesters who had moved in.
7 people arrested. The number heard unclear at this point, but this is certain. Whether or not the police action was necessary depends on whom you ask.
UNC student Garrett Goodwin remains in custody tonight, suspected of robbing an area bank. And now authorities are saying he might be tied to a second bank robbery in Franklin County. Police arrested Goodwin late last week in Atlantic City. He's charged with robbing an Apex bank. Take a look right there at a photo from that robbery. Police say they'll arrest Goodwin for the second offense when authorities bring him back to North Carolina.
A lockdown at East Carolina University lifted tonight. Fears of a gunman on campus not true after all. What was thought to be a weapon was in fact an umbrella. This uproar at East Carolina is just the latest involving guns, and we all remember Virginia Tech. A shooter kills 32 students, and since then there have been calls to allow the carry of concealed weapons on college campuses. Beth Lawrence reports on the effort at UNC.
Students carry all kinds of things on campus.
An Oregon State Court of Appeals recently ruled that the state's university cannot ban firearms on campuses. The Students for Concealed Carry group is hoping for a similar change in North Carolina.
Coming up, he teaches music now, but he used to play a very different role here at UNC.
If you keep an eye out, you might see a familiar face around campus. It's former UNC Chancellor James Measer, but he won't be heading to South Building.
Yeah, he's probably on his way to teach a class, and Amy Whitaker has the story of this former chancellor turned professor.
Measer teaches the first-year seminar, music and culture. He says he'll teach until he doesn't have the energy, but that won't be anytime soon. Did you know Tuesday was a national holiday? I did not. Well, we might not have had the day off, but the school still took a little time to celebrate. UNC celebrated America Recycles Day. It featured sustainability exhibits from campus groups, outside companies, and innovators. Chancellor Holden Thorpe also presented the biennial sustainability report. It highlighted achievements like recycling more than 1,600 tons of paper. That's enough to fill 38 dorm rooms. Students signed up for different coalitions and got information about sustainability on campus and in the community.
Changes might be on the way for UNC housing. South Campus could soon be saying goodbye to Odom Village. 2015 might mark the end for the on-campus apartments. Odom doesn't have fire sprinklers. Housing officials say the required installation, along with other necessary renovations, is just too costly, and they'd rather just replace the buildings. The planning process could begin as early as next year. And just in time for finals, a donation helps Davis Library extend its hours, and it's from an unlikely source. The Rams Club Athletics boosters donated $3,500 to the library, allowing it to stay open until 2 a.m. Monday through Thursday. These new hours will last until the end of the school year.
Well, we've heard it all before, the dreaded freshman 15. That is the weight we're all supposed to gain by the end of our freshman year. Well, we have good news tonight. Researchers say it's just not true. Carolina Connections' Rima Crace joins us live from the Reese newsroom. Rima, thanks for joining us.
How are you?
So, what did researchers find?
So, researchers found there was one researcher from Ohio State University and another from Michigan State University. And what they found is, like what you said, the freshman 15 is completely a myth. They looked at over 7,000 students nationwide, and they tracked them for the past 14 years. So they looked at their height and weight since 1997, and they found that the typical first-year freshman woman actually gains 3 pounds. The typical male gains just 3.5. But that's not to say that some students don't come back home to mom and dad a bit heavier than before. 10% of students actually do gain 15 pounds. But 1 out of 4 students actually lose weight.
And for that 10% who do actually gain the weight, why exactly does it happen?
You know, there are a lot of reasons. You go to the dining hall, Rams, Lenore, there's so much food. And so that doesn't help anything. And it's a new lifestyle, the transition's different. But he did say, the researchers, they said that the #1 factor for any major weight gain is usually alcohol. And that's not necessarily because they're drinking a lot, but it's because when you're drinking, your clarity goes away, and it might be late at night, and it's easier to just pick up the phone and order that late night pizza or go through Wendy's drive-thru. So that contributes to the weight gain.
An interesting point. Well, that's Rima Crace live from the Reese newsroom. Thanks so much, Rima.
Thank you for having me.
It's warm outside right now, but Preston, are you ready for it to get a little bit colder?
Yeah, you might have to pull out the jacket soon.
Oh no, well, we'll be taking a look at that weather coming up next. Coming up, what do the Radio City Rockettes have in common with UNC football?
We have that story next.
Up next, what are they digging for outside one UNC building? We'll have the answers coming up.
If you've walked by Battle, Vance, and Pettigrew lately, you might wonder what is going on. Archaeologists are digging for treasures from a day gone by, the 1700s to be exact. During renovations this past year, a well was discovered, and archaeologists think it dates back to when a home was on the site. Researchers are discovering hints of the past, nails and pieces of pottery, for example. They've been hammering away since Monday, and they plan to work through the weekend. And you know, Chapel Hill is such a historic place, you never know what you're going to come across.
You really don't. An even older well might be out there. Well, thanks. That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.